Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm Raven Maureen, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my pattern review for ME2063 by my girl and co-worker Brittany J. Jones. So this is her newest pattern from the spring line for ME patterns, and let's just jump into some of the details of this. So there's two views. There's view A, which is the shorts version, view B, which is the long pants. I actually made view A. Some of the suggested fabrics are chambray, cotton blends, linen blends, and I made mine out of seersucker, and you can just kind of see it out almost out of the frame behind me. And the sizes range from a size 10 to a 28 women's, and I cut out a size 18, which gave me 46 inches around my bust. And right now I'm between like a 42 and a 43 inch around my bust. And I could have cut the 16, but I wanted just a little bit more ease in the bodice area. The other thing is that it does call for anywhere between like 2.5, up to 5.5 yards of fabric if you're using 45-inch fabric on the long pants jumpsuit. So it does take quite a bit of fabric depending on what view you use and how many inches you have for your fabric. And then some of the notions that you'll need, and this is something that y'all don't laugh at me. I was so excited to do this pattern that I did not pay attention to the fact that like I needed a zipper, I needed buttons, nothing. It was like ain't nobody told me nothing when I looked at them instructions, and I had nobody to blame but myself. But you do need a zipper because this does have a fly front zipper on there. You do need 2 buttons and then also elastic. Let's get into some things else about this pattern as well. I'm gonna grab my notes here. So I think what struck me the most about this pattern, so like when I first saw it, I was just like in love with the pattern, and I wasn't even thinking about how do you get in and out of it. I was just like, oh, this is a great pattern. But there's actually a couple of different closures on this pattern. So there's the fly front zipper, like I told you. There are 2 buttons on the lapels, or on the facing, I should say, to also keep the top part closed. And then you have a sash as well. So you're like in there, which I actually appreciate because yeah, I think that I'll never stop talking about the Zadie jumpsuit because honestly it just has like a little flap. So if you're not familiar with the Zadie jumpsuit, I believe it's by Paper Theory. I've made it like a couple of times, but the biggest criticism across the board that everyone says about the Zadie is that like the crotch area is not secure. And so I think that everyone measures every jumpsuit pattern against the Zadie, like how much closure is in it. So I do want to be very clear that there are a number of ways that you are secured in this pattern. I also found myself working out of order with this pattern, which I do that when I don't like to work on a certain step in a certain order. And I only encourage doing that if you feel truly confident in the pattern or in the construction of the garment. So I worked on, I believe it was like, I connected the front and the back, and then it's like I moved down to the shorts, and then like I went back to the collar later. It was very strange. I worked in and out of it, but because the top is a separate piece and the bottom is a separate piece, you can very easily work out of order with this pattern. Let me go grab the jumpsuit. That way you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about with a couple of things. So as you can see, it does have dolman sleeves. I did finish my hems with bias tape because seersucker is a little hard to like fold under by a 1/4 inch. So I did that on the sleeve, and I also did that on the bottom, and it really gave it like a really nice finish, and I really like that. Also, if you have a chance to watch my weekly vlog, you actually see me working on this jumpsuit quite a bit. And so I was, you know, documenting that as well. But you'll notice that I actually took off maybe about 1 inch. I folded back the pattern piece of the sleeves to actually make them fit on my 45-inch fabric. And so I highly recommend that if you're kind of struggling with that and you're having to play Tetris with your fabric like I did, definitely look at shortening the sleeves, because when I look at how big the sleeve pattern was, or how long the dolman sleeve was compared to where it falls on Brittany, even with me turning it under by a 1/2 inch, turning the pattern paper by a 1/2 inch, it still falls exactly where it falls on Brittany. So I say all that to say that if you're trying to fit it on to that pattern, to the fabric, you can probably take a little bit off the sleeves. And then it's just a little bit of a facing here on the inside, which is a finished edge. It's not lined. And then the buttons that I'm talking about. So you see the buttonholes right there. And then I actually used clear buttons because I didn't really, I mean, they're not really meant to be seen. And I just felt like clear buttons were probably the most appropriate thing. So I just used those. And then, of course, I have my sash, which I used embroidery thread to kind of put this on. And then here's the fly front zipper right here. And it's unzipped, but I'll zip it up for y'all. And y'all, I'm so proud of myself. I did the fly front zipper off memory. And yeah, so the fly front zipper was probably the most like aha surprising thing about it, but it makes absolute total sense. And I actually appreciate this pattern more for having a fly front zipper. The other thing was that I didn't realize that the back has an elastic piece. So from side seam to all the way to the other side seam, there is, you do put an elastic in the seam allowance on the waist. So I just put it on the seam allowance. I didn't enclose it because, you guys, there is something that I absolutely despise about putting elastic in a casing. Like, I hate it. I hate it with a passion. So I just did a zigzag stitch across this elastic and left it exposed. It'll be fine. But it's from side seam to side seam. And if you're making this pattern, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, did I cut the wrong size? Like, why is this so big? And then you realize once you put the elastic in, it's a perfect fit. And this is actually, I really love, let's talk about fit. I really love the fit of this. I love, one, that the lapel, or really the collar, is very, very modest. You don't see any of my cleavage or anything like that. And I actually let Brittany know that, and she let me know that she actually considers things like that in her pattern designs. So that, you know, that's always good to hear, good to know and whatnot. But that was what drew me mostly to this pattern, was just the modesty right here. And even though Brittany and I have different body types, I was still very curious as to how that would fall on my type of body. And it worked perfectly. The shorts length is also a very modest shorts length, and I like that as well, because this kind of gives me like Nantucket, Cape Cod, or, you know, like Martha's Vineyard type vibes. And I was really going for a more sophisticated jumpsuit in making this versus possibly something that you wear, you know, to the grocery store or to a roller skating rink or whatever. This was really, my intention was really to have a very sophisticated jumpsuit. The other thing I will say, so the collar, there is like the instructions in the pattern and the tutorial contradict one another as far as the collar. So I'm not sure if the collar instructions in the pattern paper are actually 100% correct. So I would say with the collar, and I did this myself, I actually did watch the tutorial for that particular step, just to make sure that I was actually using the upper and under collar properly. Because if you follow the instructions for the collar, you're going to be confused because the pictures flip-flop. And that's kind of like what happened to me, was that I was like, wait a minute, it's telling me to do something with the under collar that would normally happen with the upper collar. And so let me pull out the instructions. I would even say before you even get to the step for the collar, I would jump right to Brittany's tutorial. That way there's no confusion. Okay, so right when you get to step number 6 and you actually stitch the neckline, that's correct. Stitching the under collar, that is correct. It starts to get a little weird around step number 8, and I highly recommend that you watch the actual tutorial for these steps to adding in the collar, because it'll save you a little bit of confusion if you do it ahead of time. All in all, the construction of this jumpsuit took me about a week, but considering that I was working and I had also just kind of come off of like 2 sew-alongs and whatnot, I was moving a little bit slower. I think that had I maybe waited to this week to do it, I probably would be moving a lot faster in this project. Would I make this pattern again? Absolutely, 100% I would. And I don't know if I would do the pants or the shorts next, because I think they're both so great. I love a wide leg, and the fact that it's not tapered. And sometimes, you know, I love tapered on other folks. I don't know if tapered pants always fit on me. So I love that this is wide leg, and so it's kind of calling my name again. Other than that, this pattern was really great. If you don't have this pattern in your stash already, I highly recommend that you get it. Like I said, it's a very sophisticated jumpsuit. It's not really something I've seen before, have in my stash or anything like that. And so, but it was something that I wanted and something that I needed, to be honest with you. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Now, if you like this video, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And if you're not following me already, you can follow me at Raven Maureen on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. See you guys next time. All right, Blue. Bye.